Thank you, and God bless everyone who is here. I have a topic today that I would like to introduce, just saying that I think is one of my favorites, and I don't know, but I try to be very practical when I try to develop a seminar, not because only because I think that you deserve something that you can use and do and practice at home, but also because I think that in this way we can enjoy better what we are trying to do. It's not like a complex, abstract teaching. It can be something that you can use and do every day. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, almost there. Okay. So now I think we are almost set to go and to start the seminar for today that I have entitled It's Secrets of Happy Families. And I put this title because there is a book with the same title. I will advise you, if you would like to read about it or know about it a little bit more, that may be a good reading. The book is, I found it when I was taking a class on family counseling in the doctorate program a couple years ago. And it was a joyful book because I found that it was practical. So today, even though the book has like 14 chapters and I was trying to cover the most, I decided just to make emphasis on the things that I think are the most relevant for me. And I think that can help also for you to see those secrets and how you can put in practice some of the things that can help happy families. I don't know if you can see from back there. If you want to move over here, some of the letters are not the clearest, but I was trying to be more artistic today and to improve my art skills with the new PowerPoint thing. I tell you, something that I don't like very much from seminars is that you have to prepare a presentation. And I don't like spending the time doing the presentation. I like the reading part. I like the part in which I know what I have to say because thank God my memory is not that bad. But but the presentation part that I have to see and find details and design is not very good for me. But today I would like to share with you about why some families uh, thrive while others break. Why some families have this weird thing that you see is like they shine when they are together. Some families you see, and it's like if they are building something nice, something good. So I will share today three areas of that book that I think I can put together to share an idea that can help you to improve your family life. The first one is organization in your family. The second one is quality time. And the third is effective habits. In organization, I would like to come and talk about the agile, is the word you mentioned agile, agile, how you call it? Agile, okay. Agile method to run a family. And that's interesting because agile is a method developed not by psychologists or family orienters, but was developed by technological developers. And it was a method developed in the early 2000s. And the idea is that some of those technological developers were finding that in some projects they were investing a lot of money and a lot of time. There's a book called How to Do Twice the Work in Half the Time. It's a great book. In that book, they developed this method and how it came to be. Actually, I was very excited when I saw that they're using that method to talk about families. Because basically what the book does is that they help you to develop hard projects, big projects, in a small pieces, so everybody will be busy doing something and everybody can be accountable in the process. So it's a very interesting thing if you would like to have that reading. Agile practices for families, having weekly family meetings, increase communications, improve productivity, lower stress, and made everyone much happier to be part of the family team. How? On a survey of 1,000 families, listen how interesting is this. 1,000 families, Ellen Galinsky, the head of the Families at Work and Work Institute and the author of Mind in the Making, asked children, if you were asked one wish about your parents, what would it be? Most parents predicted their kids will say spending more time with them, but they were wrong. The kids' number one wish was that their parents were less tired and less stressed. It's not about time, as sometimes we think. The research says that it's about the quality of that time. And to improve that quality time, we need to improve our organization at home. And let me tell you something. We as ministers, we have the blessing of go to many homes or many families or many houses, and we visit people usually, and we can see how they live. And this is a challenging topic. And I believe we as Adventists, we need to understand that the way we live reflects our relationship with Christ. I remember that my grandma always repeated the quote, "You can't leave the bed if the bed is not made." Because Jesus, even when he resurrected, he folded his lenses. So it was a Christian duty, and it's the way we need to see it. It's part of what we preach and we believe. So there's a few things that I would like to share with you about this section that can help us to see how we can organize and improve the family communication and organization. Family meeting. Usually when there is not a big deal or a big problem, families never met to talk about the situations that are important for the family. Have you noticed that? Usually we notice and we pay attention for the things that can be maybe the big things, the big problems. But a family meeting is not about having, it's the first time I do that. It's not about having these family meetings to find problems, but to find solutions and to see at the future. The idea in the book that they are sharing the testimonies of families that they started doing a family meeting a week. And they sit together on the table to discuss about the family issues. And some of the things that they said, have this in mind. Let me see if I can go with you with this next section here. Is that they ask in the family meeting a couple questions that are important. What things went well in our family this week? What things can be improved? What things you commit to work in this week? And how's your spiritual life? Is one I added. You know, they said that when they put the kids to be part of the conversation of what is working and what can improve, the kids themselves became the biggest judge and the biggest promoter of progress. Actually, in the book mentions that in those meetings, they decided to put the consequences to their actions, and the kids themselves put their consequences to their actions. So they put rules, and they put what will happen if they don't comply the rules. In one of the examples that the book presented, one of the ideas was that if you don't do, for example, your bed, you will be 1 week without TV. They said, no, 1 month. No, but 1 week, no, the kids said 1 month because we want this to be something hard and we want this to work. But you know what happens? When the kids are part of the planning and organization of the family, it changes the environment of the family. Because right now, everybody's moving forward and everybody feels ownership in what is happening at home. But how to do that? Weekly family meetings. In businesses, that's something that is expected, right? Especially in this agile system. But here, that's something else we can do. Checklist. Well, in checklist is one of the things that called my attention the most. Because in checklist, I found that instead of being fighting and following kids the whole morning, come and do your bed, do your bed, do your bed, they prepare checklist about what to do in the morning routine. And the checklist is at the refrigerator. That changed the chaos and the stress of the morning, and it changed the time because now the kids, when they're growing up, they're responsible for that. So what happened was, I remember one of the stories of the book that says that lady, that mom, she was stressed all the time, trying to do things, but now when they implemented the checklist system, they can see the kids going back to the kitchen, see what they have to do when they go back. And they come back and do what they have to do. So in the morning, she can sit and see them doing what they need to do. You know, we don't teach sometimes the next generation of our kids about being autonomous until when it's too late. And I tell you that because I was in a university living with people. I don't know how you call it when you're living there. Huh? I was in university dorms in Dominican Republic and also here at Andrews. It's hard to live with some people. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it. And they can use any help or any partner to be their mama if they can. So a checklist is something that called my attention so much, and it was so interesting that I said, I would like to do that, and I would like to put that. Actually, one of the things in checklists that they advise is that even as a family, we can make checklists about the things we are planning to do. That's, for example, a family vacation checklist. 1 week before departure, 1 day before departure, 1 hour before departure. How to prepare a checklist so everybody will lower the stress and will be focused on the experience. When you don't have that, you just are in automatical creating the chaos. And sometimes, I don't know if that happens to you, we go 2 or 3 times to do the same thing because we are not sure if we did it. And then some other things, we forget them. So what the book is advising is that you don't not only do the checklist, but you also save the checklist. Because next year, if you're going to vacation, you can say, that's the vacation checklist. It's the same that is there. You just print it out, put it on the refrigerator, and you follow it down when you have to do the things. But some advice is about to prepare a checklist, how to prepare a checklist. First, keep it short. At least one rule says, one specialist says that 7 is the perfect rule or the maximum for checklist. When you have a long checklist, they're advising you can divide it like it happened here. You have different checklists for different times and days. But when you have a too long checklist or you are paying attention for too many details, then it goes to an oversimplification of the checklist and people start ignoring it. So another advice is that you can make it specific and you can focus on the things that are the most important and that you cannot and that you can forget. Because sometimes, for example, you do a long checklist to feel you are doing a lot of stuff, and you put in the checklist the keys, the car keys. If you are driving in that car, you have to have the keys. So that don't have to be in the checklist. But for example, to prepare the snacks and the things for the trip, if you think, that's something that should be there. And here, involve everyone in the family. And I go back here to say, we can do that also in the family meeting. What's the checklist? You are teaching your kids about planning, administration. You are teaching them about management right at home, and that makes a difference. Then teamwork. One of the things that we need to try to do is to develop teams when we have big projects as a family. So different people from the family can be responsible for that. For example, one kid, if you have a special dinner or you have an event for guests or friends, you can ask him to be the person in charge of the door. He is the greeter. Everybody who comes, you go, you open the door, you say, welcome, we're happy you're here. We take the coat and we put it back. That's his department. And then he has to present an assessment and an inform to the family meeting after this event. So in that way, you are giving everybody something to do and they can feel part of a functional family. And also, in teamwork is when you have projects. Because at the end of the week, you can sit together and discuss how this project works. And let me tell you something. Most of the success or the lack of success in people is because they don't know how to relate to others and to work in teams. So when you have families and your kids that you're teaching them how to work together, you are giving them power to be leaders in their life. And we'll show some statistics later. And assessment questions, as I mentioned before, and those assessment questions. But I will mention this. Ignore that part here. Where I have it. Okay, it's here. Let me share some of the quotes that I found that called my attention about what we are talking about. This author says, my whole goal is to make my children functioning adults. When they go to college, I don't want them calling me every day. I want their decision-making skills to be already in place. And that's not something everybody can say. Listen to this research. A significant amount of recent brain research backs this up. Scientists at the University of California and elsewhere found that kids who plan their own time, set weekly goals, and evaluate their own work build up their prefrontal cortex and other parts of the brain that help them exert greater cognitive control over their lives. The so-called executive skills aid children with self-discipline, avoiding distractions, and weighing the pros and cons of their choices. That is brain teaching when you do that with your kids. So even though maybe not many of you have kids growing up, that's something you can share and maybe something you can put in practice in some way or another at home. Quality time. That calls my attention very much because remember that parents believed that the biggest problem was quality time, but the problem was the stress level. You know, the stress affects the quality time. It doesn't mean that quality time is not important. But I found that the quality time can be reduced in a simple thing. And it's that eating together at least once a day. That makes a difference. And listen, recent wave of research shows that children who eat dinner with their families are less likely to drink, smoke, do drugs, get pregnant, commit suicide, and develop eating disorders. Just sitting at the table to eat together. But the statistics are very interesting. This research says the most comprehensive survey done in this topic, the University of Michigan report that examined how American children spend their time between 1981 and 1997, discovered that the amount of time children spend eating meals at home was the single biggest predictor of better academic achievement and fewer behavioral problems. Eating at home, at the table, with their parents. The biggest. A study from UNICEF, you know what is that, determined that Americans ranked 23 out of 25 countries when it came to 15-year-olds who eat dinner with their parents at least several times a week. The most head-shaking statistic I saw came from the Center of Everyday Lives of Families at UCLA, which has taped everything middle-class families have done over many years. The families in their study dined together only 17% of the time, even when everybody was home. What's the benefit of just eating together? When you have this daily reunion in which people is expecting, that gives structure. And one of the biggest things that we miss in society, especially when you're growing up children, structure. Structure is vital to develop a healthy brain and healthy habits. When they have the structure of coming here and being accountable at home every day, not paying attention to their phone, talking with somebody, developing ideas, that just makes the difference. So some things that I would like to share as benefits is that it helps to improve vocabulary. And additional research found that children who enjoy family meals have larger vocabularies, better manners, healthier diets, and higher self-esteem. It's not just eating, right? A lot of benefits. Practical religion. Listen to this. Mealtime was more influential than time spent in school, studying, attending religious services, or playing sports. Practical religion. Let's live a religion with our families on the table. And that may take a deeper impact in their life than other things. Identity. The more children knew about their family's history, the stronger their sense of control over their lives, the higher their self-esteem, and the more successfully they believed their families functioned. You are creating a barrier to protect your kids for any future challenge that you will see. Some advices to make it right that I learned. First, stock the pantry. Don't come there if you don't know what to prepare. According to what the Bible was saying, the book that I was reading was sharing that this lady created, when she discovered all this research about eating together, she created her priority as a mom, eating together. And sometimes, as they cannot do it at night, she developed a great breakfast routine. So everybody was early, happy, excited, because they will have a great breakfast, and that was the family time. So we'll see about this maybe later. Stock the pantry. Make plans to have a good meal. Plan ahead. I mentioned that. At least once a week makes a difference. If you can't do it any day or every day, if you plan to do it once a week, it has an impact in their lives as well. It can, breakfast or lunch, as I mentioned, develop intelligent topics. One of the things that they were advising is that sometimes people prepared a weekly calendar of topics. And for example, one day they speak about history. The other day they discuss about the news. Other day they discuss about new words. So every time they go to the table, the parents that are building the life and the future of these kids have something planned to have a good conversation and to improve the manners and the programs and the life of those kids. It's like a teachable moment that we can't pay, but we can lose. Make it special because it is special. Make the plans to have the table the best it is. If you're eating together at the table just once a day, make that time special. I remember when I was canvassing in Panama, one of the times I was there, I was staying in the house of a doctor and his wife, she's a nurse. And these people are like parents for me, and they were such a blessing. But something I always remember is that always the food was on the table. And every time we can, everybody was sitting in a well-organized table to have a well and complete meal. That was one of the first times of my life that I got some weight for eating good. So that's a habit. And now that I think and I read that and I see the success of the boys of this family, maybe it's not a habit that I saw when I was there. It's something that was in the family since before, because now their children are very successful in what they do. Teach values and courtesy. Now we don't have too many people, too many kids with rules of courtesy. They don't know how to sit in the table. They don't know how to eat. And sometimes they don't even know how to relate with somebody if they come to home. And those are things that we learn at home, or at least that's what I remember. Set rules for social interaction. Cell phones don't come to the table. You can come to the table deciding not to speak. We all share. This is a family. So if you put the rules early, it becomes part of the rules of the family. Sometimes you want to change it and then you want to change the rules. No. Stay to the rules and be an example for them, and they will value that. The third thing I would like to share with you is effective habits of happy families. And I will share one that has to be with the values of a happy family, and the other has to be with habits of a happy families. So here is the qualities successful families share. So I will try to do it and share with you. First, communication. Family members talk to one another, often in a manner that is honest, clear, and open, even when they disagree. One of the things that we need to share with others and teach, especially younger generations, is that the way you speak matters, and that you need to speak with respect and with the intention of construct in other person. And that may sound like a simple thing, but it's not. The way you speak to others may be a reflection of the way you speak to yourself. Sometimes we have kids that they don't know how to speak to themselves, and they become the piece that the enemy is using to destroy their self-esteem. I feel pain, and I don't like when somebody close to me says, I am just dumb. You don't say that. But sometimes we listen that from kids, and we just ignore, but we are not trying to notice that they are screaming because they are destroying their own self-esteem. And somebody with no self-esteem is unlikely that will stay in church and that will overcome the challenges of society for them. A couple years ago, I discovered dealing with families and with teenagers, that one of the reasons why our teenagers leave the church is because they have a wrong self-esteem or a low self-esteem. Why? When you are growing in church, you grow like in a bubble. You have a lot of safe places, and you have a set of rules that you can relate to, you can understand, and you feel safe for that. But then they grow and they go to college. If they stay in church, when they go to college, they see now a challenge. Is that their bubble is broken, and the rules that they believed was part of the world is not the whole world. So what happened? All those changes and rules challenge the way you understand yourself in society, the way you see yourself. If you don't have a healthy self-esteem, the peer pressure will be so much, and you will protect yourself just doing whatever. So I told parents in the church, if you want to keep your kids in church, keep them with a healthy self-esteem. One of the things that I, in my ministry, may say, I can say I did a research on that, but I say because I have family, we all grow in church. Many of us are not still in church. I have a member of my family that is not a member of the church, even though we are two pastors and one non-Adventist. The biggest predictor of a kid staying in church is their self-esteem. But we parents and Adventist leaders, sometimes we don't take care of that. And we have kids in our church that we are not building them to be the best. When I have been in churches that they have a lot of young people here in the States, because, a couple years ago I used to be a youth preacher for youth evangelism. The churches that had the most kids were the churches that important kid had the best self-esteem. So this is very important, and maybe I have to speak or to prepare something just to relate to that, but I think in the communication you can see how they think about themselves and how they relate about reality and life, and this is very important. Second, encouragement of individuals. That's another value. Strong families appreciate each member's uniqueness while cultivating a sense of belonging to the whole. You respect that they are different, because every person is different in the family too. One of the biggest challenges that sometimes we adults have is that it's not easy for us to adapt so fast as kids grow and they change. So sometimes with the older that worked, I expect that may work with the second one, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So when we don't change the rules and we adapt to that, accepting them as individuals, then they feel that we are putting them in another place, and that creates friction and an unhealthy habit in the family. Commitment to the family. Members of successful families make it clear to one another and to the world that their allegiance to their family is strong. You can create, in the book says, a family manifesto. You can create a slogan. You can create an identity, and you must. I would like to have my children not to see themselves as a pastor's children, but I would like to help them know that if they are my kids, I expect the best and I will do the best for them. So in a way, they can say, I belong to this family. I am half Dominican, I'm a half Panamanian, I am this, I am that. But I need to find a way to develop in them an identity that connects them to the church, to the family, because when they have that identity, then they can organize the rest of their world in an easier way. Does it make sense? When somebody don't have this from the family, they don't belong. And when you don't have a sense of belonging, your self-esteem is weaker, and also your view of the world will be easier just to be destroyed or moved. Spiritual well-being. Studies have proved that shared value systems and moral code were common among highly functioning families. In other words, Christian families that share Christian values and biblical worldview are part of a highly functioning family. Social connectedness. Successful families are not isolated. They are connected to the wider society, and they reach out to friends and neighbors in crisis. We are not islands. And we need to fight with this idea that we are safer when we are islands. That is destroying many parts of the brain, and that is also destroying many opportunities to develop new gifts and new skills in our family. Number 6, adaptability. Strong families are structured yet flexible, and they adjust their structure in response to stress. It's not built in rock. Let's make it work. One of the things that I think gave me the most value, maybe that's something that I don't think about it too often, but at home I remember if you break, how can I say, if you break a dish, the result of that breaking wasn't a punishment, because what they understood is that it wasn't on purpose. And I don't have to have more shame. I don't have to be punished because of a mistake. And that was a powerful thing. Because in my mind, if you break a dish, you're wasting money when I was a child. But then, by some reason, my parents understood it's more important for them to understand that they can make mistakes. And that's something that we can help our families to understand. We can adapt to their changes and trying to tell them that we will be with them in the process. I'm not saying that you will put lower values or principles. No. I'm just saying that you can work together in the mistakes of life, and that makes a difference. Number 7, clear roles. Members of successful families are aware of their responsibilities to the group. That's important. My role, what's my part? What do I have to do? What do you expect from me? And then I will do my best to do it because I'm a member of this family. And 8, appreciativeness. Care deeply for one another, and they express their feelings often. They communicate their emotions by doing meaningful things for others, especially in case that people is not very expressive in the way they treat each other, reflect that they appreciate themselves. So as we share now, we have a lot of things maybe to think and to put on our families, areas that we can improve and tips that we can move to the practical part of our life. Maybe you can say that, okay, Pastor, I enjoyed to talk about the checklist. Checklist is something we do very much separately, and something that you can also try to practice and put in your refrigerator as well. Some people say, I will improve the quality time that we have when we are eating together, because the research says that that's a lot of things. And there are many things that we can do, but as maybe some of you know, this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, they develop the same habits to talk about families and how we can develop these habits in our families, and that can work too. So I would like to share with you those 7 habits in a quickly manner. We don't have too much time, but I will mention some of them. The first one, be proactive. You are the one that needs to be reaching or looking for the success of your family. Let me tell you something interesting. At home, we all hated to speak English. We never wanted to learn English or anything. I created in my mind that I wanted to learn French just to not go to study English. Each one of us, we are 3 brothers. Now, our work is related to English in some way to another, because my mom was proactive enough to force us to study it, and that's why we have the challenge on the opportunity today to do so. It's interesting. We 3 work in something related to English. So when the parent is not proactive and he don't have any goal for the family, usually the family don't go anywhere. You have families when parents, they are investing because they are looking at the future in their children. And that's something that you build every day. If you don't do it, You are not putting the grass or the materials that that plant needs to grow. And one of the things they need to see is that you have a plan and you have expectation from them. Because something we all love, especially when you are kids, we love to be successful, reaching the expectations of people we love. That happens today, and that was happening even when we were growing up. So be proactive. Have a plan for your family. Have a goal for your family. Have a purpose to your family because God put you for something special there. Second, begin with the end in mind. That's a good advice. You need to see the end from the beginning, even though you don't know the future as God, but you can see where you want to go. Many families that I find, they don't know where they're going. So when the girl has 17 years old and is in high school, she finds a boy and she believes she will marry him. So she marries him when she's 19. They never study, they never progress, they never move on. They never move on. They didn't have a plan, so they did their plan. We need to build that in our family. Put first things first. The things that you do at the beginning of the day or the things that you make emphasis that that's first, that will stay and that will stick. I remember at home 5:30 a.m. singing a hymn. We had to wake up. Sometimes what 6 a.m., sometimes what 5, sometimes what 4:45. Depends on the traffic and when my father's schedule. But he will not leave to work without having family worship. It wasn't an option. Even with your eyes closed, you need to go, pay attention because there will be questions. And if you don't know the questions, we will do it again. We needed to sing and to participate and to pray because first things goes first. And you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why we are not very easy to stay sleeping after some hours. Or maybe that's a blessing because in other stages of my life I have been, well, waking up on time to do my things and to spend my time and reading, growing, and spending time with God. And that was created since when I have memory. It was part of it. The only day we didn't wake up at this hour was Sabbath, and Sunday we can do it a little bit later. But Monday to Friday, for many years, family worship, early in the morning. First things first. Think win-win. That's an idea about solving problems that the author shares. But here I put a picture of some kids playing with water. Win-win is how to solve a problem in a way that both of us can feel I gained something from it. I was respected, my decision was accepted, and even though we both win, I didn't lose. Think win-win is trying to be less selfish and trying to be less right when it has to be with authority and be more constructive when it has to be with empathy. Because now, when you have empathy and they see that you care for them and you are consistent in what you're preaching and what you're doing, they win, but you win too. I put that picture because I put in my mind sometimes playing with water may be a waste, but sometimes it's just letting them be kids, and maybe you can go and play with them too. So we need to think in that win-win and trying to find ways in which our family can be a positive family to grow and win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. I didn't show that picture very much, but the idea is that this person is like trying to get an idea. It's the way I see the bulb there. So seek first to understand, then to be understood is to put yourself in that position of listening. And then after you understand, try to see how they can understand you. But the adult or the more mature person needs to take the risk of being the adult. Sometimes we want people to understand, but they are kids. I can expect from them misbehave and disrespect, maybe, or I can expect from them that they will think in a less developed way. But what I can understand is why can't understand is why we behave like them when we are dealing with them. And that's something that simply destroys the communication and respect in the family. Synergize, build unity, find ways to keep your family together, create family traditions, create habits and things that you do as a family. Go every year to a specific place to enjoy, rest, and be disconnected. Find ways to go camping or to do activities that can have memories for them as they grow, because that makes a family. Sadly, you have places that the only thing that they remember of their childhood now is playing video games and listening to their parents fighting. No, no, no. That's a predictor of failure. Create traditions, synergize, build unity, and at the end, sharpen the saw. Spend time checking yourself and checking what is going on in your family. Spend time reflecting of what things can be improved, modified, or just grow. Because in any of these places, there is a way in which the Lord wants to help you to be the best parent or the best leader of the best husband that you can. So I hope that maybe you can take some of these notes, maybe share with some of your friends, and also take for your family, because you can also have a successful and a happy family. May God bless you tonight, and I pray that the Lord will give you his blessing as we finish and we go to our home. Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, we give you thanks because you have been faithful to us. Sometimes we are just submerged in many things, but now we remember that there are many simple things that we can do that will make the difference in the way we prepare the next generation for you. Lord, I have members in the church here that maybe they are being an influence now for other generations. I ask you to give them the wisdom to put your Holy Spirit in them so they can share this message to other people. There are some people here who is still raising kids. I ask you that you can give them also that wisdom and that advice so they can put in practice some of the things we have discussed this evening. And also for those like me who don't have it yet, prepare us so we can train kids and we can raise them not for this world, but for the eternal world. Thank you for everything you have done for us, and thank you for bringing us here tonight. As we go back home, help us to be with your company, in your presence. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you for watching our videos. If you like it, click here to watch another. Remember to subscribe and to share it with others so they can hear the gospel as well. God bless you.